to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
All right, everyone, this is Tim the Online Big Blue. We're bringing you the best of New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. We're creeping up to 10K into subscriber accounts. Oh, the anticipation is killing me. Not really. I'm excited about it because we're going to get to sell our new merch. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I want to talk about free agency a little bit because you see things again on the Twitter sphere that just makes you kind of shake your head. There are realistic free agents and there are fantasy free agents for the Giants. And that is basically the two categories because there needs to be a realism in reference to who we can bring in and who we can sign and who we can't sign. The Shane has come out on multitudes of occasions and basically said this is going to be a trying year. He's got to try to clear a lot of money. He's got a lot of heavy lifting to do. He's got a lot of work to do. And they're probably not going to be big players in free agency because they just don't have the money this year. But that doesn't stop the people from spilling nonsense. And it just makes you laugh, some of the stuff that you see. And yeah, some of these guys would be great free agents. And I love how people are trying to find connections. But the two big names that I've always see is Hassan Redick and Byron Pringle. Neither of them are coming to the Giants. Sorry. You just don't have the money. I've seen anywhere between the Giants are getting 3 years, $38 million, 3 years, $35 million, and they're going to guarantee 18 of it. Welcome to Fantasy Disco. Where is this money coming from? You're going to blow your entire free agent wad, that's what she said, on one guy? And you're not going to sign anybody else? You're going to give him $12 million per year? Let's say, or $13 million a year? And you don't have the cash to do it? And you also have people like Azeez Ojulari and Quincy Roche and even Smith who can potentially come in and fill the void. But you're not going to spend the money. And listen, I would like to have Redick. You know, he took a little bit of a step back last year. But the dude still had 11 sacks and 44 pressures. And I think he would be a good fit in Wink's system, which relies, of course, on a heavy blitz. He's athletic. Is he the perfect guy for the Wink system? No. But would he be a better player than most that we have on the roster? Yes. But is he going to fit the roster and fit the cap? No. I mean, come on. Welcome to Fantasy Disco. It's just not going to happen. And like I said, the Giants have basically come out and said they are not going to take a huge chunk of their limited finances that they have and put it on one guy. When you have a roster full of holes, it just doesn't make sense. And then the next question is, why would Redick even want to come to the Giants? He tasted some success in Arizona, and then he moved on to Carolina, where he didn't get the same success. I mean, record-wise, he probably would have been better off staying with Carolina. But the reality is he's probably going to go somewhere to like Philadelphia. He's not. I mean, it's you could want him, you could pine after him, but again, realism is going to drop like an anvil on your head. The other one I'm seeing all the time is Byron Pringle, Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver. And I love this one because everybody's like, well, he's going to fit in with the Kafka system. I've said this a million times. What system? Kafka was a guy that was basically in the league since 17. Hasn't even run the system yet. Has been a passing coordinator. He was a graduate assistant in 16. He doesn't have a system. He fits the Kansas City system. And I have a feeling that, again, Pringle's going to want to command not a big contract, not a huge contract, but he's going to want some money. And honestly, I don't think he's leaving Kansas City, because why would you leave Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes to take probably less money to go with Kafka to play with Daniel Jones? The guy is 28 years old. This is going to be his contract. This is going to be his payday year. Last year, he had 42 catches for 568 yards and 5 touchdowns. They're all career highs. For the last, I would say from 19 to 20, it was pretty much just a kind of a depth piece. And so before 2021, where he kind of stepped up, he logged only 382 offensive snaps, totaling 25 catches for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he progressed, though. He showed more and more. And in the latter half of 2021, he showed how productive that he can be. And I'm going to say someone like Kansas City is not going to allow, he may be more than a depth piece next year for the Chiefs. And he's a guy that, you know what? He's going to fill a void. He could be more than a spot starter. He could be a second or a third option. And you're going to see his targets go up. And again, he's going to want some money. And I'll say this one more time. Why are you going to, if you're Pringle, why would you want to come to the Giants and play with Daniel Jones when you're playing with Patrick Mahomes? He currently played out his 1-year, $2.3 million contract, which was a big jump for his $540,000 he was paid in 19 and 2020. And I'm seeing a big pay leap for this guy. And I'm seeing more of the pay leap coming into the Kansas City market. I think he's worth more to Kansas City than he's worth a lot of players outside of Kansas City. And I see some places are like, well, his calculated market value is $3.2 million. You can't calculate. I love these websites. You can't calculate a market value off a guy that potentially could mean more to his current team than it does the market. You can't. And the Chiefs have a large number of free agents coming up. They got 14 in total. And I think that's going to be, like I said, I think Pringle is going to be an important player for him. I think that he could potentially be a number 2. I think he's going to look for more than a 1-year deal because he's 28 years old. I guarantee he's going to look for a deal somewhere between $4 to $7 million. And that's not going to be a terrible price for the Kansas City Chiefs to pay. It would be a bad price for the Giants to pay because you're rolling the dice on the same thing that we're rolling the dice in regards to Mike Kafka. Is Mike Kafka a product of Patrick Mahomes? So that's going to be the next question. How many receivers have we seen leave the Giants during Eli Manning's tenure that didn't succeed anyplace else? That's the question we need to look at. But now we got to get some realism in here. Guys that the Giants could probably go after and guys that the Giants could probably afford. The first guy that we're going to look at is going to be Campbell. Campbell, of course, is not the player that he was in Jacksonville. He's not the player that he was in Arizona. He's not that guy. He's not the guy from 2017, 2018. He's not that guy. He's not even the guy in 2019. He said he's already going to come back for his 15th season. He's done so much in his career. He played 15 games last year with 41 tackles, 21 solo, 20 assists, and a sack and a half. Not the massive production that Giant fans want to see. But he is going to be a system guy that is going to fit Wink's system, and he has familiarity with the Wink. And he is a guy that I feel can fill both into a defensive end and defensive tackle position. And I think that he is old enough to understand that this is probably going to be his last go around. This is probably going to be his last hurrah. I don't see him looking for a big money contract. I don't think he's going to be like, I want $15 million a year. I think he's going to take above a veteran minimum, especially if he wants to continue to play. Because like I said, he's regressed a little bit. He's got a total 93.5 sacks. And like I said, he had 4.5 sacks 2 years ago and 1.5 last year. He's not going to be that destructive driving force, but he's a leader. He's a leader of men. He is he's a guy that if you want to have you're a team with a bunch of young guys, you want a leader, especially in that defensive room, because Leonard Williams isn't that guy. Leonard Williams isn't that leader. Campbell is that guy. He's that vocal stand-up leader that has a long resume that other players will respect. And he is a guy that while he may not give you the production that you need, he's going to give you that intangible that cannot be coached because he's just that kind of guy. And like I said, I don't think he's going to demand a large salary. I think he is going to be more in line to get above a veteran minimum. But I think he is a guy that if we could get on a cheap deal, his presence will be more of a benefit than his play on the field, his presence and his ability to teach the younger guys. And like I said, we only need him for a year because we are probably going to have a very young roster, and he's a guy that we always talk about, the guy that's a leader on defense, the guy that can turn around and rally guys around them, and that is Campbell. I remember him from Jacksonville. So I think, and like I said, him being familiar with the Wink system, he would be a perfect fit for the Giants on a low rent contract. Another defensive player the Giants probably might be looking at, but it's going to be harder to get, is going to be someone like Jerry Hughes of the Buffalo Bills. Again, it's going to be a guy that's going to have the Shane connection. He's 34 years old. He's uncertain about his Bills' future. And he, again, would be a calming influence in the locker room. He would be a guy that younger players can learn how to be professional. The only problem with Hughes is he's already come out and said, I want some hardware. We were close to getting that last year, so now we know what it takes to get back to the big stage, and this is my last opportunity being a Bill. I want to go out on top. So he wants some hardware. He wants something. It sounds like he wants to stay in Buffalo. The biggest question is going to be, will Buffalo want to bring him back on any type of contract? And I think that's going to be the big issue. And then the other issue is going to be, is he going to want to go somewhere where he is going to want to get to that Super Bowl, get that ring? Now, a guy that could be interesting to bring in is a little bit, again, an older depth piece. That's going to be wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders had a pretty good year in Buffalo. He had for 42 receptions, 626 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 2 drops. He's a guy coming that played off a $6 million 1-year contract. He is a depth piece, and he's a gentleman that you could bring in and help the younger Giants learn. He's a guy that could be a coach on the field. He's got a great upside in reference to being a great depth piece for the Giants. And moving forward, like I said, he's got the hardware. He's done what he needed to do. He is a guy, like I said, that it can come into an organization and he can make a contribution at his advanced age. And I love how we call him advanced age, but his advanced football age. And he is a guy that I think could help tutor some of the wide receivers and some of the young wide receivers, such as Kadarius Toney, on this roster. And I do think, like I said, he is a guy that would be a good fit. And I wouldn't mind giving him a $4.5 million contract for 1 year, non-guaranteed. And I think, again, he's a guy, if he's going to want to continue his career, does he want to go somewhere and be a depth piece on a championship type team, or does he want to try to continue his career and potentially be a starter on something that could be potentially a bad team such as the Giants for one season and continue his career that way and help build up his value going into the next year? I'm not sure, but like I said, to me, he's a guy, if you get on the cheap, like I said, he did a 1 year, $6 million. He could potentially do the same thing, do a 1 year 6 or maybe 1 year 4.5 with incentives. But he's another guy that can come into this organization and show the young Giants how to be professionals. And I cannot stress sometimes how important that really is to an organization. And again, we'll have some more videos coming up about free agency. We'll also talk about, hopefully soon, be closing in on those 10,000 subscribers. We'll do the big 10,000 subscriber theme. Want to thank Stream. Want to thank Dom, of course, that we're dropping in and being a part of Tuesday's 4 p.m. show. We'll also have our stream on Sunday. And again, this is Tim of the Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. And as always, if you could like, if you subscribe, if you read the play theme of the means, that'd be awesome.